What is up, guys? Let's see, we should be all up and live now. All right. I'm try and do this so that I can also see chats on the right-hand side so I can engage with you guys. Got the team on too. Welcome back. Last time we did a live stream, it's been a couple of weeks. We've had a lot of stuff going on. Just give me a quick thumbs up if everybody can hear me. I'm hoping. Looks like you should be able to. Yeah, you guys should be able to hear me. But just so I know for sure, give me that thumbs up. And we're going to go ahead and get rolling today. I've already seen some people asking me, what are we working on? Perfect, we can hear. Thank you. I know there's a little bit of a delay. So, what are we working on today? Well, I've got a few miners. I've got a couple fun ones. Cables melted, stuck to jacks, so we're going to replace, and then we're going to see if there's any other issues with that miner. We got some octaxes. We've got an interesting V-reg on a Rev 6. It kind of tails into one of the other videos that we've done talking about CSDs on a Rev 6 that unfortunately can get melted if you're not running any kind of fuse protection and you're running an aftermarket power supply. And again, guys, feel free to ask questions in the chat along the way. I'm going to keep an eye on things, taking a look at the chat and make sure I can answer your questions when I see them. Enjoy a little cold snack, non-alcoholic, of course. And we'll have some fun today. So, let me change this over. I was just shooting a video on the Zabra Blanc, so that'll be coming out real soon. And that's going to be an interesting one, I think. That's been a rather fun day with that, so look forward to seeing that one. Yeah, so a customer sent this miner in, I believe. Joey sent this miner in and said, hey man, I need your help. I can't get this power cable out. As you can see, we're missing the center pin here. I mentioned that. I don't know if there's any other issues with this miner, but I know that this is a problem. We're going to have to solve this problem. So I'm going to show you kind of my method to deal with this. The cable will not be saved, unfortunately. There's not much I can do about that, but we're going to walk through and we're going to replace that fuse too. So it's a little crooked on the top. But we're going to heat this thing up. We're going to remove it. I'm sure you guys are going to have questions along the way. We can answer those questions. And we're going to work through some miners. We're going to have some fun. So feel free again to chat. Team's on board as well, so they'll be posting links along the way if you've got questions about different items, things that you can do to help your miner improve cooling, improve performance. It's what we do. And if you got repair questions, feel free to ask. So I'm going to start by heating this board. I'm going to preheat this board up. Get you guys a little bit better view here. I'm going to leave it on the main. You can see on this side, unless we're looking at other component stuff. I'll flip between the two. So perfect. So we're going to warm this thing up. In the meantime, I'm going to grab some parts that I know I'm going to need, like a new jack. Now this is a Rev 5.1, essentially, original design plus. Wish I could stay, but going to bed soon. Check out the live tomorrow. Just wanted to say hi. Hey, I appreciate it. Appreciate it, Nordic. Thanks for coming in, man. Definitely appreciate you checking us out. The live will be a recorded video for tomorrow, so you guys will be able to check that out after this. So we're going to heat this board up, and we're going to see what's going on. So we did also drop another video, yesterday around the Nexus S1. If you guys haven't had a chance to check it out, you should check it out. Pretty good video. We're going to have a pretty good repair coming on that one. Customer approved that repair. So we get some parts on order. As soon as those things come in, we'll get that swapped out. Those parts swapped out and see if we can't get him back up and running. Kind of unfortunate to see that miner already dropping off a little bit. Great watch if you get a chance. Check out that video. I'm just looking over here for something here real quick. Yeah, I got everything I need. Perfect. All right, so just a little bit of background on what I'm doing here. So I'm heating this board up with my hot plate at 400°C, and my goal is to kind of bring this board up to a level temperature, as warm as I can get it. And then I'm going to heat the board from the underside, because this this power plug is a pass-through from the top down. And I know it's loose, but I don't want to cause any more damage that's already done than is already done to this board. Hopefully we don't have any real pad damage. We're going to know once we get in here, and I'm probably going to smoke this cable a little bit with some heat, and that's okay. We got to get it off. So we definitely have some other video, as this is kind of warming up. We got some other videos coming in the pipeline that I think you guys would be really interested in. We're going to be highlighting a lot of our various cooling solutions, like the Nerd Helix shroud. We're going to show how these mount, paired up with our Arctic P12 Pro fan. Use the P12 Pro, I believe. Anyways, real great fan, produces a lot of airflow at very low volumes, and a lot of customers love it. We prefer it. It's our preferred fan to use. That's what we've been putting on our latest Gen QX. Is the one you see up here is the first gen. So it's actually one of the very first ones we ever built. It was one of our prototypes. And that thing's been cranking away ever since. Love it, absolutely love it. But we'll be highlighting how to install the Helix, along with other cooling solutions and other accessories along the way. So expect to see more videos out of us, and then I'm going to try and do these lives as much as I can. I'm a normal guy like everybody else. I've got a family, so it's kind of hard to juggle it some days, but we'll figure it out. And we'll see if we can't get you some more content out there. So this is warming up pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slide this board. I'm going to switch you guys to the microscope camera. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this off the edge. So I'm coming off the edge of this, and I'm continuing to heat it from the underside. It's kind of a pain. I'm actually going to cut. I'm going to cut this cable because we can't save it anyway, but it's getting in my way. I'm going to expose the bottom of that, and I'm going to come swap this out. Go to my large tip. I usually run this around 450°C and around 50% airflow. All right, so I'm going to come in. You can kind of see it in the image there. And I'm going to heat this from the bottom. And by coming in from the bottom, it should help prevent melting the fan headers and the display headers. If I can avoid it, I don't want to have to change those out. Just a bunch of extra work I don't really care to do if I can avoid it. So we're going to heat this from the bottom. It's going to take a minute. The thicker the board, the longer it takes to heat this up. But you can see here, I'm watching this kind of solder joint, the bottom. And this is going to be one of the thickest parts because we have our power plane and our ground plane right here. And by heating the entire board up, we're not kind of shock loading that and driving all the heat out. This board will act like a heat sink. So you can absolutely do this without preheating the board. However, This is a much safer way for the rest of the components. But you can do it. Just takes a little bit longer. And a lot of people get really impatient pretty quick. Sounds like I got somebody in the chat that's going to be sending an Octex into us. Hopefully you can fix my Octex soon. King, have you sent me your Octex yet? Do I have it? Because if you look behind me in that little small box, but you see the shelf behind me? These are all of our current repairs in our queue. Not quite ready yet. Should be real close now. King 60. No, I just filled out the form and paid. I haven't heard back yet. I'm ready. I can send today. I'm in Australia, so it may take a few days. I actually have a few Australian customers, actually. We get quite a bit of business out of Australia. Spent some time in Sydney about a year ago. Beautiful place. I would absolutely love to take my family there someday. I got to tell you, though, I didn't really enjoy that 17.5-hour flight out of Houston. That was a fun one. All right, as you can see, we've got it off. We've got it off. Now, before I go too far, I want to inspect the bottom side of this board. I'm going to leave this heater on, but I'm going to flip this. I want to see what the pad looks like. Okay, good, that's elevated. So that looks like we just have, it broke the solder joint and then came through. I know it's kind of deceiving, but it's not actually, change it at angle. So we see we still have the puddle up, which means we didn't rip our pad out. We have, that pin came through that solder joint, broke away through it. So that's good. That's actually a good sign. So I'm gonna get this back on here. We're going to get back in view, and we're going to heat it back up. I'm actually going to turn that just a little bit. There we go. Perfect. I'm going to add a little bit of lead-free lower melting point solder paste. It's going to mix with the other solder paste, the other solder that's on this board, and help reduce our temperature to melt this, which is a good thing. And then what we'll do is after we get it installed, we will clean up the solder joints from the back side, but we need to get this in first. So we'll heat this back up. Yeah, we do get a lot of international customers that send stuff into us, which I think is great. We're definitely here to support everybody. It can be a little pricey on the shipping, for sure. And what we do when we return it, when you ship it, you ship it as you're shipping it out to be repaired with the expectation of coming back. You hang on to your paperwork. And when we return it, we reference that return from shipping to help you try and avoid duties. Now, we can't control every country's duties and tariffs. All we can do is help provide as much support as we can on the return side with the documentation. But sometimes it can be, depending on the country, it can be really expensive. And I'm sure all the people watching from the U.S., the thousands of you that are watching from the United States right now, that was a joke. We all kind of understand right now the big kind of trade war that's been ongoing and everything else that we've been dealing with. Especially as a business, it's been rather fun. So, a little bit of lower melting solder, heated from the bottom, dropped right in. Perfect. Now I can take my heat away. I can take this board back off my hot plate. We're going to let this cool down for just a minute. Get this out of my way. That looks pretty good. It's a little warm. Yeah. So we will touch it up from the back side as soon as it cools down a little bit more. Good. Awesome. Soldering iron's heating up. We still got some good heat in this board. And we'll touch up the solder. Then we're going to let it cool for a minute. And we're going to see if this board has any other issues. I told the customer, I said we got to start with the jack. And then we got to test it from there. Obviously I can't test the board if the jack is destroyed. See my soldering iron struggling just to heat this enough to keep this solder melting. There it goes. And what you see, this solder that I'm using is again another lead-free lower melting point. It's not low melt solder, it is a lower than what I would typically use in a manufacturing environment. And that's very intentional. When we manufacture boards, we set our refill oven to a profile designed for the components and the solder paste. Because you want to control how long certain components are at certain temperatures, but you want good solid solder joints. So when I do rework, I use a little bit lower melting point solder paste so that I can keep those temperatures a little bit lower. Every component in the SMT world, I say every, let me be clear about that. You're not sending these fan connectors, these are through hole, but you're not sending these through a reflow oven without them turning into a big blob mess. Okay, it's not gonna happen. But everything else, with the exception of this jack and these headers, went through a reflow oven, likely around 400 or 450 C for a short period of time, a very controlled environment. Same way we do it in our reflow oven when we do our manufacturing. But the components are designed to run at certain temperatures for a set period of time. So you don't want to bake them. You don't want to hit them really hard with a like a hot air gun at real high temperatures because you'll break things. You'll break components. So that looks really good. Nice clean solder joints. Board temperature's coming down. That's a good thing. I'll start getting it ready for heatsink. And this is the process you can expect when I go through and fix a miner for you. Which you can send them in at ixtech.xyz in the very top. Click on repairs, fill out the form, pay your 25 bucks, check out, follow the instructions on the form, and make sure, I can't stress this enough, make sure you either put a copy of your form inside the box, like it says on the form to do, or you notate an order number on a piece of paper, because I get a lot of stuff that come in with the name of the UPS store or some other random name that doesn't match anything in our system. So if I don't have a number, it can be a real challenge to find out who you are. And that's not something that I want to waste my time doing, and I certainly don't want somebody hit me up going, hey, I sent this stuff in, and I don't, oh, that was your box. Okay, well, great. Yeah, thanks. Got your stuff, man. We're going to work on it. Do you often get people who think the diagnostic fee is the full cost? I've heard a lot of other shops deal with that. So that's a good question. We call it the bench fee because we got to sit down, we got to go through your miner, and oftentimes, and you know, I say oftentimes, I'll show you in a second because I got a component I'm about to reference. We are pretty clear with the customers. We tell them, my phone's over here ringing, and of course it's spam. But we are pretty clear with the customers that this is a bench fee. This is an evaluation fee. We make it very clear because it can be confusing if you're not careful, and I understand that from the customer standpoint. But you know, there's a lot that's going into this. Give me just a second, and I'll show you. Let me just finish putting that on. Okay. Oftentimes, customers will ask me, hey, you know, what's covered in the $25? And what we do is that $25 covers the evaluation. We get your miner in, we inspect it, we test it, we verify the concern that you sent it in for, okay? And sometimes we come across things like this. This absolutely is a common failure point on these devices, on all Rev 6, all Rev 5.1, Octax, all of your nerd miners. This is a TVS diode. Okay, and so this TVS diode, if you overvolt your board, so let's say I have a Meanwell power supply, and you crank the voltage up because you think it's a little low on your dashboard, and you're not realizing what's going on, and it gets above a certain voltage, it will short this to ground automatically. It's what it's designed to do. This TVS diode is designed to fail short to ground to protect all the other components in the system. Typically, when I get these, it's like an additional 10 bucks and I'll swap it out for you, you know? So for 25 bucks, we evaluate it, but then, you know, we're coming back and we're giving you a quote, an estimate. Sometimes, hey, this is just a blown fuse, or oftentimes, hey, the problem was this wasn't adjusted right, or this wasn't set right, and we don't charge an additional fee for that. You know, oh, hey, we flashed your firmware, you're good to go. Don't worry about it, you're just paying return shipping to get it back to you. So, you know, if it's something super simple, like super simple, doesn't require me to spend the next 20, 30 minutes working on your device, we oftentimes cover that in the $25 fee. However, it's not so much that we're covering it in the $25 fee, it's that we've done a full evaluation for the 25 bucks, and it was something simple, so we wanted to take care of the customer. That's what we deal with. We do not get a lot of pushback on that, and it's really about being really clear up front on what it is and why it is. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, before I set any power to this, jack's on, I've got my test display on it. I'm gonna check. Okay, I don't have any shorts to ground on this board, so I'm safe. I'm gonna check my fuse. My fuse is not one to act like a fuse. Let's yank that because I think that end of that fuse is a problem. Let me grab another fuse real quick. Okay. New fuse is in. That's the reading I want to see. Reading across the fuse, I want to see it look like a short, right? That's what we want to see. Now let's power this bad boy up and see if and how she runs. Nice tight jack. So you guys can see it's powering up. But what I want to see now is the behavior of the device on the dashboard. Okay, so I'll make it so you guys can see this a little bit easier. 84.87 watts. We like to see these things a little lower than this. However, we do see them in this range between basically 68 and 85 watts, and it all has to do with the binning of the chips and the design of the components that are put on this board. Okay, that's what drives this. But what's more important to me is that we see our hash rate climb and we have our temperatures under control. That's really important. Thanks, King. Sounds good, buddy. I look forward to seeing it. So we are at 4.6. Here, I'll move this for you guys so you see it. 4.6 terahash. This is a good hashing board. We're at 88 watts. Our ASIC temperature is at 51. And I'm watching our VREG temperatures, okay? Which you guys can't see my computer screen. I don't have a, I've actually got it connected up to my laptop over here on this side so that I can do the streaming in OBS and connect my Steam Deck. I don't have a good dedicated computer for streaming. Otherwise, I would put that over here. I just got a lot of stuff going on. So maybe at some point we get enough followers, we'll do that. I'm going to let this cook here for a minute. We're at 44.6C on our VREGs. Internals at 51, which is what I would expect to see. This is really looking good right now. I'm going to let this cook for a minute. While we're doing that, I'm going to check out this next question we had on here from Unity. You found a new power supply that will run the Canon 903S besides the terrible stock one. I cooled mine and still burned out. Yeah, so great question. Let's talk about why you don't see non-stock power supplies for that and why you probably shouldn't use a non-stock power supply for that. So the Canon uses a USB-C, the 3S uses a USB-C powered power jack to power the device. It's USB-C, but it's a negotiated USB-C. So what it requires is that when you plug in the USB-C to the device, there's a chip on the Canon that talks to the power supply and says, hey, I'm here, I see you're there, send me this voltage based on certain parameters within the device itself. You could probably find, I would imagine, some knockoff power supply, but think about it like a laptop. They make knockoff power supplies for laptops. Laptops negotiate the same way I'm explaining it. If you get some cheap power supply, what you're risking is instead of it negotiating and saying, yeah, I'm safe, we're good, give me the full power, 19 volts, whatever voltage we're sending, it's sending it all the time, and now there's a short on the board and you just cause major catastrophic failure or a much bigger problem. So the Canon power supplies are like that. They are a negotiated USB-C power supply. From what I've looked at, because I've looked at the Canon 3S, and it is a closed source miner. It is hard to find anything for it, and I've taken a real close look at those. I don't know of any, and I do understand that people are pretty displeased with those power supplies from Canon. Unfortunately, I haven't seen anything in the aftermarket that's worth its weight in gold that I would say, hey, go buy this one, it's better. That's definitely not the case, and that's also the reason why you won't see people plugging in just normal USB-C to it, because it is a negotiated power supply. Someone said, Unity Mind, yep, 28 volt, 5 amp, yeah, it's negotiated. When you plug it in, it starts at a much lower voltage, talks to the communication chip on the Canon chip comes back and says, yeah, we're safe, go ahead and send it, and then it sends that full voltage back. So, yeah, you gotta be careful with some of those. It's like I said, just like a laptop, you want to be careful with what power supplies you're using, otherwise you can end up causing a lot of damage. So hopefully that answers your question. We don't do a ton of work on Canon Nano 3S. Again, it's closed source. We've taken a pretty close look at those a couple of times. We have one as well. We try and buy various miners that we don't build so that we can understand them better and what they've done, and we can understand how we can help our customers with the repair side of it and accessories that we can offer for them. So my stock 903S melted its own port using the stock PSU. So dumb. Yeah, I know. And here's the kicker: we have tried getting those ports, and that is a proprietary port on that main board. We can't even find them. So we have tried sourcing them through DigiKey, Mauser, other electronic suppliers, and the way and shape, the way they have laid that out on the motherboard, we haven't been able to get a quality one in our hands. So wish we could help, man, but unfortunately on the Canon, there's not much we can do for people. So they do carry a 1-year warranty. Hopefully, we tell most of our customers, if you're within that warranty, send it back. I've heard that they're good with their warranties, but that doesn't mean much. That doesn't mean much. So we are 5 minutes in. Our VREG's temperature is at 55, and we are at 4.8 terahash. I will typically, and we've leveled off on our VREG temperatures, which is good. I'll typically let these things run on the bench for 10 minutes, unless the customer tells me specifically, hey, I've run this for 30 minutes and I have a problem, or if I see something out of whack, I'll set it over here and I'll run it on the bench next to me. But this one's looking good. This is looking real good. So we're going to let it run for the full 10 minutes, and then while that is doing that, I'll set it over here to the side, and we'll start talking about our next one. I think you guys are going to like the next one. Yeah, the Canon run really hot. It's a common issue we've seen. Yeah, we've seen it. I've seen it. We would love to be able to do repairs on those, but we cannot get our hands on the very specific USB-C power port that it has. Power connector. So if we could, we would absolutely offer it as a service, but we have not been able to get our hands on them. I bought an aftermarket PSU for my Octax, and I believe you have it in a queue. It's a Meanwell LRS 35012. Y'all have any issues with that one? So cool. So are you telling me, perfection, I should have your Octax here? Did you send it to me with your Meanwell? Because if you did, I think I know who you are. I'll give you a second to answer that question. And I think you're probably in Ohio if that's the case. So I'll give you a second to answer that question because I know there's a delay here. While you're getting ready to answer that, let's kick this over. So I did an evaluation on this for this customer. No, I didn't send it. No, I didn't send it with the PSU. Okay, no worries. I have quite a few Octaxes here. Without me giving me your actual name, I couldn't tell you for sure, but I have quite a few here to get some work done on. So as you see behind me, everything you see on this shelf is in queue for repair. The top 3 are evaluated. Everything on the bottom is in queue for repair. No, scratch that. Bottom is all evaluated, quoted, waiting for customer response. Top is queue for repair, but it's what you see there, plus it's the 6 or 7 I have on the floor right next to me. Like this Octax sitting here. I got quite a few. That one actually has a PSU in it. So let me get back to your other question real quick, and then we'll cover this one here. Bought an aftermarket PSU Octax, I believe you have it in a queue. Is it Meanwell or have you had any issues with that one? Are you asking? I'm curious. Oh, Doug M. Octax. Okay, I'll take a look in a second. So I'm curious if you're asking me if I've seen issues with the Meanwell itself. I think that's what you're asking me. And if that's the case, let me answer it this way. Meanwell appears to be a decent aftermarket power supply that's adjustable. It seemed to be pretty decent. On the Octax with the fuse, I don't have a problem. But this is going to lead right into this conversation we're having right now and what I'm showing you on your screen. Okay, this is an example of a customer who is using, likely, I should be clear, I didn't validate with him, but every single case I've seen of this, it's always been the same thing. They're likely using an aftermarket power supply like a Meanwell, and they had a CSD failure while running, or typically while running or during the ramp up at startup. Because there is no fuse on this board, this CSD went for a ride. There is some much worse ones that I have. I actually have another one here. I'm trying to think of where it is right now. It's on the shelf here. The customers asked me to try and attempt to get it off. This one here we're going to try and get off too. I'm less concerned about this one, but the big concern here, and I've covered this in videos before, is that this CSD has welded itself to these traces. And now this is the main 12-volt input power plane, and this is the output. Okay, this is the main plane. So you have 5 or 6 pins here that are all soldered to the same plane. So 12 volt in, the CSD basically pulses to control output voltage. So we send 12 in, we may come out with, 1200 millivolts, 1250 millivolts. And that's all done with these CSDs, okay? These are known as a next FET. So these are designed by Texas Instruments, very sophisticated. Unfortunately, I think what we've seen, the reality is they're highly prone to failure. And it could be many reasons that's caused it. And I don't think anybody has a great answer, because I can't say I've ever seen a full solution that guarantees 100% that these don't fail. They're gonna fail. Some, like that QX that you see up there, has the same CSDs on it. We do a little bit different design with some of the components. That's been running since, I don't know, last October, November timeframe, maybe slightly before that. Yeah, I mean a little bit before that, when we designed that, because the device there that you see, which is kind of hard to see, but the Nerd QX is our design here at Ixtech. And it works great, but we've certainly seen a couple of them have CSD failures. We've taken care of those customers, but it's one of those things. This never happens to this effect, to this level, unless the customer is running an aftermarket power supply and the board doesn't have a fuse. That fuse brings a lot more protection than people realize. This is why we offer the fuses with the XT30 for these Rev 6 style boards. In theory, shouldn't need it. In theory, power supply should be able to stop it. Stock power supply, which is limited to 10, 12 amps, won't cause this kind of damage. But you get to these large Meanwells and you cut that thing loose, you're going to send as much power as that Meanwell will feed through it until something realizes there's a problem. And unfortunately, I have had several customers whose boards are no longer viable because of it. So on the Octax, I wouldn't worry about it. You got a fuse, that's great. You got good protection. But as you can see here, and this isn't even a really bad one, it happens. Let me see what else we got. I was in the Octax box. If that helps, but no pressure. Okay, Doug. Doug, I'll take a look in a second. Yes, I'm curious about the Meanwell PSU. Yep. Hello there. I think I covered that pretty good. I run mostly Nerd Q++s. Going to send you 2 bad 6.1 boards. One stopped powering up, and the other cat knocked over and broke off the silver piece in the back. I don't know what the silver piece in the back is. I'll have to look at it, obviously. Send it in, man. $25 a board. Fill out the form. Make sure, as I spoke about in the beginning of this, make sure that you put a copy of the form in the box. Or write the repair. I don't care to write something on the inside of the box. I'm getting a lot of customers sending stuff in with labels. They go to the local UPS store, and their return address is the UPS store and no name. If you do not have a piece of paper in there, I don't know who it is. We get a lot of repairs. I think we are pending 20 that we're waiting just on the inbound right now. Add that to the other 15 or 20 I have here, and it's a constantly revolving door. So please just follow the information on the form. That's the only thing I ask, and we'll be happy to take a look at it for you. Meanwells will send a crap load of amps before shutting off on an overload. That's exactly right. What are your thoughts on Tiny Chip Hub's Nerd QX+++ Remastered Edition? I don't know. Tiny Chip Hub's is a tough one. I'll have to look at what that is. I don't know if I've seen the plus Plus Remastered Edition, unless it's a Plus Remastered Edition. I don't know. I think there's a lot of these little miners out now. I'll have to see what they did. Why would anyone not run a fuse? Well, great question. It was they didn't think they needed it. I'm just going to leave it at that. They didn't think they needed to have it, and that's fine. In theory, you don't see them on a BitAx, Gamma, stuff like that. It's a different power stage design. It's also, you know, I don't know. I think it's a difference in opinion amongst engineers. All we can say is what we see on a regular basis with repairs. And this, I never, ever, ever see damage like this. Look at that coming off. I never see damage like this on a Rev 5.1 or any board that has a fuse. It just launches the fuse. And as you can see, we're starting to get underneath the coating here. A serious amperage went through this. Serious amperage went through this. It's very interesting. Let me see if I can find the other one that's really bad. I don't know if that customer got back with me yet on that one. He may have. Oh yeah, here you go. Here you go. Has not gotten back to me yet. This is how it came to me. This is after cleaning with alcohol and Q-tips. As I told the customer, I'm about 99% sure this ain't coming off. Not without taking that trace with it. So again, another Rev 6 design, no fuse board. It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, but you can see the absolute decimation here that's occurred. And if I can't get this off, that means that this entire trace is going to have to come off with it in order to remove this. These are multi-layer boards. I'm also probably have lost this control line trace here. It just gets to the point where I could spend hours trying to repair this. You know, I know we all see the Facebook threads with these people doing the work that they do. A lot of times when you see that, those are not multi-layer boards. This board, I think it's 6 layers. You get underneath this, I can pretty much guarantee you if I were to get this off, all the coating in between the layers is smoked. The layer right below it, which could be a power plane or a ground plane, probably a ground plane, is going to be exposed. It's a lot of risk, and this is the main current input to this device. If I was just looking at a control line trace, something like these here, or this trace here that passes through the other side, or this trace that comes over here that got burned, that's easily fixable. I got all the tools and all the ability to do that. But this is carrying all the amperage load. Obviously, the entire miner, I'm going to use round numbers. Let's say it's burning 15 amps. That load is divided amongst these CSDs. That's why you see the 6 phases on the Octax Titan, whatever they're calling it these days, because they're trying to divide that load up across those phases to take the hit off these. Now, these are designed for 90 amps, but as we're seeing, we see a lot of failures in these. They're trying to divide that load up amongst them to try and give longevity. But I mean, I don't know how much I would trust anything carrying, you know, in this case 5 amps, or let's take it to the extreme. Let's say it's, you know, it's not going to be much more than 15 or 20 amps, but it's a lot of power getting pulled through that, and to try and repair that is difficult. So we're going to see if we can even get that one off. That's a later day once I hear back from